In this video, I'm going to discuss hasty caches and do a couple demonstrations on some effective ways that you can lay up a hasty cache. So first, let's talk about three different types of caches that you can do. First is like an above ground cache, like where you just put it in like a waterproof container, like maybe a black bag, and this is something that's not really going to be put out in the field for too long. Think of it like a patrol-based cache, if you will, if you're familiar with that. So where you're just going to be gone for maybe up to 24 hours from whatever materials that you're leaving behind, like your pack or whatever, your sustainment load. And you're going to conceal it, you're going to waterproof it, etc. And really your pack should be waterproof, so the entire thing could just get like a poncho over it and then be camouflaged and be good. That's an example of a concealed cache. Another cache would be like a buried or submerged cache. Now these are considered more long-term caches, but I would say that for the purposes, for the purposes of this video, this is really the kind of caches that we're going to be looking at. Now, this isn't really the semi-permanent caches that you would see on, like, if you go to Tactical Rifleman's channel and you look up that, the guy who literally wrote the book on doing caches actually talks about how to do it and talks about everything in detail. I'm just showing you like a very hasty way of doing it for, say, if you want to cache things for up to a week. Now, light infantry is known for, like real light infantry is known for keeping things light and being able to be on their feet. And that actually requires staging some gear, and so that's why this video is about hasty caches, but they are buried or submerged. So I have two examples of different caches that you might have. Like here I have like some survival supplies, obviously a little bit of food, like a drinking straw, some tobacco, and a knife, and a way to make fire, and even a book. This was just to kind of see if any water penetrated, how bad it actually was, because it would soak up the humidity. But it's still a relevant book because it's the survival guide. So anyways, this next one is a medical, a little medical cache, and this is just like little extra odds and ends, nothing really too substantial. Like if I was going to make a real medical kit, it would probably include some of these things, but it would be including other things as well, and it would be very mission dependent. So anyways, I just threw some things together and I prepped them in two different ways just to experiment. One of them was, this one was more of a painstaking cache that I set up with a black bag, and this one was actually a very hasty one. Both of these were out in the field for a month, and it was raining like crazy, and actually when I got them up, they still had mud all around the bags. This bag, the thing that saved it was the Ziploc bag. That's the only thing that saved any water from getting in was the Ziploc bag, and it was completely fine. It was just a little bit wet. There really wasn't that much moisture, but all I did was I just wrapped it up pretty quickly, and then I just like rolled it up and then duct taped it shut as good as I could. With this one, on the other hand, it was completely dry on the inside. There was only a couple of folds in the beginning that had a little bit of water in them, but it was very late stage. It had just broken past some of the duct tape. I went through a painstaking process of actually, like if this is the black bag's top, I actually laid a strip of duct tape over top and carefully folded it over perfectly to where it would actually seal it. And I put this bag inside the black bag first, and then I sealed it, and then I tested to see if any air was going to come out. And once the seal was good, all I did was I cut a slit at the base of the duct tape and on the bag, just enough so where air can escape. And then I proceeded to roll it up very nicely, and then I got all the air out, and then I taped it up and resealed it again. And then I, secured it and buried it. So both of these were buried pretty shallow. They didn't really have more than, a few inches above them, and that was because I wanted them to have as much exposure to the weather as possible. Normally when you're burying things, they're typically going to be like semi-permanent caches, so they're going to be buried relatively deep, so maybe 6 inches to a foot, and that'll help with preventing some weather, but still you're going to have water coming in. So, you got to choose that. But again, Tactical Rifleman's channel can cover all that goodness. So anyways, so if you're going to be throwing together a hasty cache, I would recommend that if it's something that isn't necessarily for the mission, but maybe a contingency, like maybe an E&E kit, like maybe you want to have like some survival items or extra medical stuff, I would pre-wrap these caches in before the mission and stuff them in your ruck, and then all you have to do is find the spot, dig it, and bury these things, and put the caches in place. So that's my recommendation for that. So anyways, this is an art. Obviously you can see what this is, but this is a thermal blanket, and this comes in a little zipper pouch. You can get these on Amazon pretty cheap. Just type in that name and type in thermal blanket. You can buy different sizes, and they're all camouflage, but these would be great for like a shelter in the field. And if you are light infantry, then you probably want to cache away like your sleeping items, and this would actually be a pretty good shelter item. But this is something that you could like straight up just bury in and of itself. Like even if it gets water, it's going to be a shelter, not a whoopee. But if you're going to be packing away a whoopee or caching away a whoopee, which I have no objection against, then you would need to waterproof it in like one of these black bags. But you'd want to make it as small as possible, but lower that signature, right? But anyways, let's go ahead and get into the basic materials that you'd need to do a reasonable cache. Now, obviously you would want to start off with like something like a Ziploc bag. Now you can go and you could just do black bags and just double bag, triple bag, like cut a little bit of the bottom of a bag off and then tape it up, whatever you want to do. I just like the slider freezer bags. I don't have any anymore, but they already got used for like food and stuff. But anyways, any Ziploc bag will really do. I just like the sliders because number one, they're silent and they're a lot easier. I don't need to find the connection point and then mess with them. So anyways, it's just a convenience for me. So the next thing is you're going to want to have obviously some way to dig, and an e-tool is one option. Another option is to actually buy like a 10 to 12 gauge nail from like Lowe's. It's like less than $1 to get one, and I would use that as a probe for rocks, but it can also be used to loosen up the dirt, and then you can just move it out by hand. And I actually did that where it's actually a lot more silent than using an e-tool and clanging against rocks, where you're actually able to probe down a little bit. But that's an option that I have in my pack. And I forgot to bring that big nail out for you guys to see on the video, but I'm sure you can use your imagination or just drive down the Lowe's and figure it out for yourself. And of course you're going to want a black bag, some kind of waterproof container, right? Now some people want to do the whole kit and caboodle if they're going to do any kind of cache, like PVC or a paint can or an ammo can or whatever. That's on you. I'm going to go the budget route. I'm going to go with something that's going to do the job, but I'm not going to be investing $1 million into it. And this is a 2 mil garbage bag set that you can get at Walmart, 20 bags, 55 gallons, and they are contractor bags. You can go to Walmart, pick them up for less than $10. All right. So with that detail gone, 3M duct tape, and that's pretty much it. So that's all the materials you're going to need. So yes, you could use an e-tool or a nail for like digging. Now, how detailed you want to be in your burial, that may require you to have like extra bags so you can lay out, the soil and stuff, or, move the soil. So how you dig it, that's going to be up to you. But again, go to Tactical Rifleman for like all the burial details. This is just like to set up your cache. Okay, for how to lay it out in a way that doesn't cost you spending money on an ammo can and waterproofing it, or spending money on a paint can and then waterproofing it and stuff like that. This is like the simplest way that you can do something. So first off, I'm going to demonstrate to you the simplest way that you could like waterproof one of these bags. And it's not really designed to be, manhandled all that much as far as like dealing with like penetration threats like jagged rocks and stuff, but it will definitely work for waterproofing. So anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and use this bag since it's a little bit more bulky and heavy. But first thing you're going to want to do is put the bag inside and put it into one of the corners. So here I have it in one of the corners of the black bag, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it up, I'm going to fold it up, I guess you could say I'm going to fold the width up all the way nice and tight. Now from here, now that I have it all folded up, I could tape this just to keep it in place, but I don't really see that as necessary. But the next step you're going to want to do is you're going to want to kind of shimmy this down a little bit and get as much air out as possible. And this is just going to, you're trying to keep this nice tight bag. You can leave a little bit of air in if you want a little bit of an air gap that can kind of be protective and kind of shock absorbing, if you will. So I'm just going to move a little bit of air out, and now this is the really simple part. You're simply going to see how this extra flap is, the last part of the flap. I'm going to fold in this direction. I'm just going to start spinning it around. And I'm going to go up 2 fists right here. I want it completely tight for 2 fists. All right? Now, there's no taping here. You want to know what we're going to do? We're simply just going to tie it off. And you see, that's the reason why I say to spin it a couple times, because some air, when you're going through the tying process, some air will try to push back. Now, there is an option here that can make it a whole lot simpler. It's just a few more things that are going to be part of it. You can zip tie it right before you do the tying to prevent air coming back, but I have a comfortable air gap here. Now, you just pull it nice and tight. Pull it nice and tight, and if you have very good quality bags, it's not going to rip it or anything, and you can be pretty forceful on that. That's going to be the first seal. And then, from there, you'll want to go 2 fists up and do the same process. You know, these points right here are the weak points, so you're creating little areas where the water is going to have a hard time getting through. It might spill over, but the buck stops there, and there's several little ways to stop it from moving any further. So again, you're just going to continue tying off. And here, this one is actually pretty good. It's kind of looking like a little bit of a horsetail, but you've got a little bit of an end here. Now you have an option to just keep going all the way up, and then you can either cut off the excess, zip tie it, you know, whatever. So you could easily add zip ties to, you know, your little kit for caching, but it's not really necessary. This is like the easiest method that you could use for caching and like sealing it off in a very simple manner. Now, if you're really trying to be detailed about this, then one thing you can do to kind of top this off is you can take a strand of duct tape and you can kind of flatten out this lip here, and you can get that one strand of duct tape to go across the entire lip, and then you fold it over slowly. So measuring it goes about there. And I'll just do this and obviously speed it up. I left a little bit of a gap here for the bag to vent air. And all I'm going to do is rotate all this off, and I can make another little tie-off point. There's 3 different, you know, seals right there. Now, are these seals going to be perfect? Probably not. Now, this one I left a little bit of an opening right here so that I can seal it after all the air's been vented. Now, is this going to be perfect? Probably not. But that's what the rest of this is for. That's why this painstaking process is not necessarily foolproof, but it is a pretty good start. Now, if you want, you can go through all of it and try to find out where all the leaks are. I'm not really too dedicated on that, so, I mean, I'm pretty happy with the way it is. I've got 3 little locks here that are going to resist water getting in, so there's really not much of anything that would really pull it in. So the next step, that was the longest part of it, but the next step, really the last step, is just folding everything up securing it to itself. And that is probably the easiest part of it. Now, if you have a little bit of an air gap like this, or a little bit of air buildup like this, you have a couple of options. Number one, you can like pop it and then tape it, or you can just like find out where the buildup is and kind of push it out wherever it will go, which is what I'll do here. Now that that's done, I can finish up taping. So there we go. We have one little package that you could bury. And is it perfect? No. It's a hasty little thing that you throw together. It's not really meant to be buried for a long time. It's ugly. It's not perfect. But the point is that it can be done very easily, very inexpensively, and very fast. And that's really the point. So you can set up an E&E kit and toss it away in a certain grid coordinate or some place that you can actually get to if you are on an E&E. You could set up several. And you could have, what they call speedballs, like extra ammunition, extra medical equipment, batteries and stuff like that. You can bury them the same way on an operation, very simply, and you can get everything you need, and, you don't have to worry about, all the little things like buying a ammo can and all the intense processes of waterproofing things. You have a waterproof container right here. All you got to do is figure out how to isolate it from the air and the water outside. And actually, it's pretty simple. But anyways, let me know what you think about this in the comments below and any other content you'd like to see. And you guys have a good one.